Hey there, everyone, and welcome to Gender Decoded. I'm your host, and I'm so thrilled you're joining me today. This podcast is all about peeling back the layers of gender dynamics in our world, diving into the stats, stories, and surprises that shape how we live. We've got a fascinating episode ahead. So grab your coffee, get comfy, and let's decode the gender puzzle together. Stick around, because this is going to be eye-opening. All right, let's jump in. Today, we're tackling a topic that's been buzzing in my mind for a while: gender disparities across different facets of life in the UK. Based on some pretty compelling data from a few years back, we're going to explore how men and women show up in things like homicide rates, suicide statistics, workplace deaths, education, homelessness, you name it. This isn't just about numbers, it's about understanding the real human stories behind them and what they tell us about society. I've got an image full of pie charts that we'll break down, and we'll look at the patterns, the reasons, and even some mind-blowing facts that might just flip your perspective. We'll start with a bit of background on why this matters, then dive into the data, how it was collected, what it shows, and what we can learn. By the end, I'll wrap it up with some conclusions and a quick review of what we've uncovered. So, whether you're here to learn or just curious, let's get into it together.
Welcome to Gender Decoded, where numbers align, seeing the stories that data defines. Breaking the barriers, truth untold, insights in gender, the data falls.
Now, let's set the stage. Gender disparities have been a hot topic for decades, and it's not hard to see why. They touch every part of our lives: how we're educated, how we work, even how long we live. This data we're looking at comes from the UK, a place with a rich history of tracking social trends, and it spans from 2010 to 2016. It's a window into a time when people were starting to notice these gaps more closely, asking questions about why men and women end up in such different places. This background helps us see that these patterns aren't random, they're shaped by culture, economics, and the systems we've built. So, let's dig into the numbers and see what they reveal. Okay, let's talk about the data. This comes from a collection of pie charts I've got in front of me, and it's packed with info from the UK Office for National Statistics, reports from 2015 and 2016, and some Guardian articles between 2010 and 2014. They gathered this by pulling together mortality stats, health data, educational records, and even workplace safety reports, everything from official government surveys to research projects. The methodology was pretty thorough. They looked at specific age groups, tracked funding in medical studies, and even broke down who's using respite shelters. It's a mix of quantitative analysis and some qualitative insights, giving us a solid picture. Let's break down each chart. First up, homicide victims: 70% male, 30% female. That black and white pie chart jumps out, doesn't it? It shows men are way more likely to be killed, maybe because they're more involved in risky or violent situations. For women, that 30% hints at domestic violence or targeted attacks. Mind-blowing fact: even though men and women are about equal in population, men make up over 2/3 of murder victims. Wild, right? Next, suicide rates. For the 10-29 age group, it's 77% male, 23% female, and for 30-44, it's 78% male, 22% female. Those dark slices for men are huge, suggesting they're under immense pressure to hide their struggles. Maybe that tough guy stereotype plays a role. Women, though, might face different mental health challenges we don't see as much. Here's a shocker: men are 3 times more likely to die by suicide. Yet we hear more about female mental health. Why is that? Deaths between 50-65 show 59% male, 41% female. It's a closer split, but men still lead, possibly due to smoking or job hazards. Women live longer overall, but this gap narrows with age. Crazy fact: men die 5-7 years earlier globally, often from preventable stuff. Makes you think about lifestyle choices. Medical research is 73% male, 27% female. That 73% slice is huge, showing a bias towards studying men, maybe because they were seen as the default body. Women's health, like autoimmune diseases, might be getting shortchanged. Mind-blowing. This persists even though women outlive men. Research isn't keeping up. Workplace fatalities are 97% male, 3% female. That tiny 3% for women shows they're mostly out of high-risk jobs like construction. Men dominate these dangerous fields, and that 97% is one of the widest gaps here. Staggering, isn't it? University attendance flips it, 57% female, 43% male. Women are leading the charge in education, while men lag behind, maybe due to disengagement or economic barriers. Amazingly, the UK has one of the widest gender gaps in university attendance globally, called a national scandal by some. Homelessness is 84% male, 16% female. That big male slice points to job loss or substance issues, while women might hide their homelessness for safety. Shocking fact. Men are over 5 times more likely to be visibly homeless. Challenges the vulnerable woman narrative. Finally, respite shelters are 99% female, 1% male. That 99% reflects a focus on women fleeing domestic violence, but men at 1% show a gap over. 40% of domestic violence victims are male, yet shelters barely help them. Mind-blowing. The system's built for women here, leaving men behind. These patterns tie to cultural norms, men taking risks, women seeking education, and systemic issues like biased research or gendered support. It's a mix of history and habit shaping these charts. So, what do we take from all this? The data paints a picture of deep gender disparities in the UK. Men are hit hard by violence, suicide, workplace deaths, and homelessness. Those big slices show they're carrying a heavy load, often due to societal expectations to be tough and risk-taking. Women, on the other hand, are shining in education with that 57% lead and dominate respite shelters at 99%, reflecting a system that supports them in specific ways, like fleeing abuse. But there's more. Medical research favoring men at 73% might be missing women's health needs, and the tiny 1% male shelter use shows a gap when men need help. These patterns challenge stereotypes. Men aren't invincible, and women aren't always the vulnerable ones. It calls for action, better mental health support for men, fairer research, and more inclusive shelters. Today, we've journeyed through these stats, uncovered some jaw-dropping facts, and seen how culture and systems shape our lives. It's been a lot to unpack, but it's a start to understanding gender in a new light. Thanks for tuning into Gender Decoded. I've loved sharing this with you, and I can't wait to dive into more next time. Until then, keep questioning, keep learning. See you soon.